Good morning. This morning we're going to have a walkthrough and some commentary on the Island Gypsy 44 Mannanan. The Island Gypsy 44 is a big volume coastal or long distance cruiser. They're well regarded for their sea handling characteristics and their comfort at rest with their beamy hard chine hull that features a long protective centre keel and twin engine. This version, Mannanan, is the aft cockpit version. Most of these that came from the builder in Taiwan are an aft cabin version with a raised rear deck. The aft cockpit version comes with an upper or raised galley internally and 3 cabins and much better access to the boat via the rear boarding platform and stern door. There's a rear boarding platform made of teak with a boarding ladder, a rear cockpit shower and a door to give access. The cockpit itself is generous with high coamings and varnish capping rails. The varnish work on this boat is in very good order, as is the teak in the cockpit. There are 2 storage compartments. The far one features a eutectic freezer underneath the padded seat you can see. There's a rear shadecloth awning for protection from the elements. From the cockpit there's wide side deck access going forward. On the starboard side, a side access door adjacent the lower helm. As we go past you can see that the varnish work is in good order. There are teak side decks, but the teak on the foredecks, which would have been installed from new, has now been removed and replaced with a painted non-skid finish. Entering through the rear door, you can see that the teak is in good order. The cockpit area is covered by the extended floor from the flybridge, which gives a hard top over the whole of the cockpit area for security from the weather and gives a much larger area. There are 2 large lazarette lockers. The whole of the area under the cockpit is accessible for storage. There is a deck wash on the port side. On the transom there's a cockpit shower, both hot and cold. The forward part of the cockpit has a large storage compartment and to the right a small eutectic freezer. Access to the foredeck is from either side of the boat with a short step up onto the side decks. Down nice wide side access areas with good handrails. Past the shore power plug and side access door next to the lower helm. The foredeck area is up one step from the side deck and the area is vast. The teak here has been removed and the deck's painted with a yacht style non-skid finish. There are large custom stainless fender holders on the rails. An excellent anchor platform set up with 2 bow rollers and a horizontal Lofren's Gypsy. There's roughly 60 metres of 10mm or 3/8 short link chain and a second rope Gypsy on the port side to take a second anchor. There's a second chain hawse set up ready to go on the deck and a deck wash facility. There's a foredeck cradle holding a 2.4 metre aluminium rigid bottom inflatable that's powered by a 2-stroke Mercury outboard, which is a 5 horsepower with a built-in fuel tank and integrated gearbox. All this is launched by a 350 kilo electric slewing crane. Other notable things on the foredeck is in the centre part of the flybridge there's a fold-down stair arrangement. When folded down it means you can walk directly from the foredeck to the flybridge. There's also a late model steerable LED floodlight big enough to make your neighbours toast for them. The flybridge itself has got good clears and has a hard top covering the whole of the area. There are a couple of areas on the foredeck where the paint needs some touch up. And here is another area. It's about 1 metre long. There's a breezeway shade cloth fitted to the whole of the front part of the saloon windows to keep glare down, and these are a very good idea. Side deck on the port side of the vessel is also in good order. Perhaps not as good as the other side. It may have had a little more sun over the years, but generally it's still in serviceable condition. The capping rails and the varnish work is really good. While we're here, this is the outside of the port saloon windows. It's worth noting that these are aluminium. Many of the Island Gypsy 44s have timber frame windows which are prone to significant leaking. Back to the cockpit, there's a Weber BBQ barbecue. Above the Weber, in the top corner, there's a small craze showing where there's been some movement either in the bulkhead or the roof, which may need some mod. Now heading inside. As you can see, the vessel has a deep pile carpet flooring. A feature of these boats is that the majority of the timber fit out inside is solid timber. The timber veneers are mostly limited to the vertical panels. This is the area behind the starboard saloon windows. You can see there's a small area of water damage to the veneers. Unfortunately, for the majority of these Taiwanese built boats, water damage to veneers is often an issue. This is the area around the joiner post in the starboard saloon windows. There's an area of water damage here and here in the veneers, but it does not appear to be structural. On the window frame on the other side, there is less evidence of water damage. While pointing this out, the water damage is cosmetic. It is a common feature for these boats and pretty much all of its era built in Taiwan. There's generous saloon seating with a collapsible table and literally mountains of storage forward. On the window frame on the other side, there is less evidence of water damage. While pointing this out, the water damage is cosmetic. It is a common feature for these boats and pretty much all of its era built in Taiwan. There's generous saloon seating with a collapsible table and literally mountains of storage forward. The cupboards to the rear of the galley actually open all the way through to the other side, and the outboard cupboards open all the way to the hull, giving significant storage. The boat's saloon is air conditioned using a cruise air system. On the starboard side, opposite the galley, is a large storage cabinet. There's a wet bar underneath the top lifting cupboard and a U-line ice maker below. The galley is from generous to large in size. Centrally located at the back of the U is a front opening eutectic fridge, and at the far end of this bench a top loading eutectic freezer. There's a double bowl sink, lots of bench space. All of the appliances you see are remaining with the vessel. There's a ceramic 3-hob cooktop, a microwave oven, parquetry flooring. There's an electric grill oven and lots of storage above the galley bench. This vessel is a dual helm boat. There's a side access door to the lower helm, the classic Island Gypsy timber wheel, dual lever Morse or Teleflex style controls, comprehensive instrumentation, and a range of electronics which, although functional, would be fair to say that they're now somewhat dated. There's a Wagner HF radio with a manual tuner which still functions, although it is in need of an antenna. There's a 27 meg radio, an autopilot system, sounder, EPIRB, and worth noting, an original Halverson builder's plate. These vessels were built by Kong as Island Gypsies before Halverson's involvement, but the boats that were made with Halverson are generally of much better quality. This is the access stairway to the 3 cabins below. From this point, if we rotate and look aft, you get a panoramic view of the significant size of the saloon area. This is a beamy, big volume boat, and it has a load of room inside it. The hatch in the floor is access to the engine room. We'll come back to that. Behind the helm is the main electrical panel. This has the facilities for the 240 and 12 volt on the same panel, separated by a safety board. From the bottom of the steps, immediately to the right, is a cabin with 2 generously sized double bunks. They're a good length and reasonable width. As far as third cabins go, this one's pretty generous. Ahead of that is the first of 2 bathrooms. This is the general bathroom that's accessible to all. Has an electric toilet, a vanity unit, and to our right behind the door that's currently closed is the screen for the shower compartment. Stepping out to the corridor and going forward, the forward cabin, which is currently full of bedding, has got a V-berth with a central seat to provide 2 more berths for your guests. And back on the port side of the vessel is the master cabin, which is a double bed located midships where there's the least roll. This cabin is generous in its size. It's got lots of storage and an ensuite bathroom forward of him. This is a bit more view of the rear part of the master cabin. Ahead of this master cabin is its private ensuite, which has Electrosan electric toilet, a large vanity, a mirror that you can see me in, and a separate toilet compartment with sliding glass doors. The flybridge is accessed via a multi-rung teak ladder. There's a hatch over it to keep the weather out if the clears are open upstairs. I've stopped on my ascent of the ladder to show the condition of the teak flooring in the flybridge, which is in very good order as it's predominantly been kept under cover from the fiberglass hardtop. This is the view looking back from the top of the stairs. There's a life raft which is now out of service. Replacement for that should be contemplated rather than putting it back into service. A very well equipped helm with an overhead console, a forward seating area with a lounge and a table, and literally mountains. Underneath these seats is all storage. The 2 compartments marked life jackets are big enough for a large adult to climb into, and that's all storage. And all of the seating around the table has storage. The locker under the end of the helm console is also storage, as is the lockers on the port side of the helm console. I'll just pull one of them open, because hiding within is a 12 volt front opening fridge, as well as access to all of the cabling from the helm. The helm itself is very well equipped. There's a large liquid damped binnacle compass, again dual lever controls, an intercom system bottom left. Above the engine controls there's a 36 mile Furuno RP100 radar. This is a commercial standard radar plotter. And mounted above that, from right to left, there are HF radio remote mics, a GME VHF, auto helm depth, auto helm ST1000 autopilot, a 27 meg transceiver, and underneath it at the back a Lowrance Elite 9 GPS and a Furuno GP70 GPS navigation system which integrates to the radar. All of this equipment is much more modern than the equipment that's fitted downstairs. This is a well-equipped helm. I'll do a quick sweep across the back of the boat. Although dusty, the clears are in good order and don't need any attention. There are a couple of life rings as part of the safety gear fitted up here as well. Forward, this is the walkway through to the reverse stair system. These stairs hinge back down to the foredeck so that you can access the foredeck directly from the flybridge. It's a great innovation, more boats should have them. A sweep of the flybridge from the forward port corner. We'll duck down into the engine room, access is through the floor hatch. Then there's a comfortable timber ladder to give access to the engine. In the engine room, looking at the port motor, which is the well-known Caterpillar 3208T. This is the turbocharged 375 horsepower version, V8 320 cubic inch diesel engine, highly regarded in the marine and mining industries. These engines have done about 2,200 hours. The filters are all bearing marks indicating that they were changed June 21, which was the last major engine service. Has large 150 or 200mm stainless steel exhausts, which are fitted through to large capacity wet boxes. It's a very nicely done system. The engine room's really neat and tidy. Everything's laid out professionally. There are even custom drip trays fitted underneath the engines to collect any spills, none of which can be seen. Going back to the port side, you can see the separate wet box for the generator set. I'll change ends and show you that in a moment. Generally a very tidy engine room. This is all acoustically lined to minimise noise. And you can see, looking forward, there are a couple of pumps that have been fitted to make it easier to do oil changes. On the wall starboard side is a Pronautic 12 volt 30 amp multi-stage smart charger. Fuel tanks are steel with inspection plates. They all have sight gauges on them and are plumbed with gate valves at each end. This tank is showing a small weep either from the gate valve or from the inspection plate on the tank. Looking aft, there's a door which gives access from the engine room through to the lazarette, and next to it, port side, is the Cummins Onan Genset. This is a much later model unit than the boat itself. It's not an original fitment. It's done about 1,000 hours. It's a nicely fitted engine room that's been kept very tidy. So that's our quick look at the Island Gypsy 44 Mannanan. Like all boats, Island Gypsies have a few features you need to watch out for. On the 44 model, the three principal issues are osmosis or blistering in the hull, rot or soft spots in the foredeck area, and damage caused by leaking windows, particularly the timber framed windows. This boat pretty much resolves those. The hull itself was fully stripped in 2011 and refinished. The owner reports that there was a few small blisters when the boat came out of the water in 2020, but these were all small and it was a minor issue that needed little repair. Around the same time, the teak foredeck was removed, the deck sealed and painted with non-skid. The deck now seems hard, and there's no evidence of any foredeck damage. There's a couple of areas where the paint has lifted, and this is a matter for some service or maintenance, but it's minor compared to the potential risks of teak decks. This vessel has aluminium frame windows, not the timber framed troublemakers that we find on so many others. There is some cosmetic veneer damage internally, but it is cosmetic and it's minor. Another one of these we had was owned by a shipwright who sealed and refinished the veneers inside in an off-white polyurethane. It modernised the interior and resolved the timber veneer damage in an efficient way that looked terrific. The positives, though, much outweigh any downsides. These are a big volume boat with considerable mass. Their ride at sea is excellent. They're a very seaworthy hull. They're dry, they're efficient, they're economical, they have a good long range capacity. They have a protective keel that runs the centre line and twin engines which give a good turn of speed with an economical cruise in the 8 to 9 knot range. All in all, this is the best example of an Island Gypsy 44 that we've seen. It's well worth an inspection. And in case you're wondering, Mannanan is a Celtic god. You can look him up on Google and find out the history. Mannanan, an Island Gypsy 44. Nice boat.